Wonderful. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm so excited to be presenting at my very first virtual conference. Very excited. And today I'm going to be just spending a few minutes talking about a program that I've been doing for the past 15 months, Grab and Go Mindfulness Bags. Started the recording. SJSU, great. And yeah, this is the program. We're doing passive programming, grab and go mindfulness bags today. My name's Abby Davis. I currently work at the Jefferson-Madison Regional Library system, and I work at the Central Branch in Charlottesville, Virginia. Please feel free to take a screenshot, take a picture right here of my email, because I'll say this again at the end, but I would really love to hear from you, your comments, your feedback, suggestions, all of that good stuff. So please feel free to be in touch with me. I would love that so much. So we're at this wonderful mental health and wellness conference, Thriving in Uncertain Times. And I just want to start off by setting the stage for you, an uncertain time. It's September 2020, and we were 6 months into the pandemic, we all were, and I was 5 months postpartum with my first baby. And I was coming back to work, and not coming back to work, but I was starting a new job, new system, back in my hometown, but it was totally new. Icing on the cake was a few months after I started, my supervisor left the system. So talk about a little bit of uncertainty. And I was faced with this question of, how do I come back to work fully? How do I come back to work with that joy and that passion and that excitement that I've always had for libraries? I wanted that back. It was hard to leave my baby every day. So I credit my mom, who used to say to me, give the gift you want to receive. If you have to give something to someone, you need to be excited about it, because when you're excited about it and when it feels good to you, that excitement is contagious, and you're going to have a great quality product, whether it's a homemade birthday gift or a library program. So that's my first tip. It's so important. If we're talking about mental health and wellness at work, what did it for me, what turned it all around and got me going again, was committing myself to a project that I felt really passionate and excited about. And for me, that's mindfulness. I'm really into meditation. I got into it after my daughter was born, and I was excited to share that with others. I was excited to come to work and get paid to do this kind of thing. So that's really important. And I thank my mom for that. I also thank the very first public library system that I worked at, Laurel Public Library in Southern Delaware. They are an amazing team of people. They're so dedicated to serving their community with passion and joy. It was such a great place for me to learn the ropes my first few years in the world of public libraries. They have an amazing programming system there, but they also have a great infrastructure for resource sharing. And that's such a big part of libraries, is resource sharing, making sure that our patrons can learn and get information. So especially in the pandemic, that was a big thing for us as we were trying to figure out programming. This is what was the result of that, was Mindful Mondays for me. And here's just a snippet of what it looks like, what's inside the bags, what the bags look like at my library, what they look like as I'm making them on my desk, the cover image. So it's a small thing. It looks small, but it packs a big punch, which you'll see. I love this particular concept and program because the concept of it is so flexible. I'm really into mindfulness and meditation, and I assume you might be too because of the title of my program. But even if you're not, if mindfulness is such a buzzword for you, it's flexible. Like maybe you're really into humor or nonfiction, culture, sports, travel, whatever you're into, that's what your bag can be about. I also love this because it really works well with our culture, with this post-COVID world, where a lot of people are still into curbside pickup. A lot of our patrons are still coming in for a minute and then leaving. This kind of initiative meets patrons where they are, because they can pick up the bag and go home and enjoy it at home. I love it too because of the accessibility. We serve a large unsheltered population at our library, and this kind of program does not require registration, no reservation. You walk in and it brightens the space. It feels like a little goodie bag that people just get to pick up and walk home with. Our unsheltered populations do not come to our programs. They don't check out our books, but they take these bags and they're excited about the bags. So here's just a brief supplies list. A lot of these extras are really only going to work if you're doing a mindfulness related bag, but it just goes to show that there's a lot of things you can put in here. And the great news is that you can do it really inexpensively. I love this particular bag because with these brown bag dimensions, because it's the Goldilocks of bags. It's not too big, it's not too small, it's not too expensive. Most of what's in the bag is paper-based, so this ends up being a very inexpensive bag to make. Ours is less than 50 cents a bag easily. So now we're going to go through what's inside the bag, and it starts with your content. So I told you that my bags are about mindfulness, and so the content ends up being mantras and breathing techniques and journal prompts, guided visualizations, things like that. But you need to think about what sorts of information and ideas you want to share and then how you want to share it. I've created a little list here of fun ways that I've shared the information because like I said, if it's paper-based, these are just words. So it's fun to spruce up the words and to make them interesting and visually dynamic so that people open the bags and they are interested in what they're seeing. The other thing I want to say on this slide is that there's two different ways to get your content. You can create it or you can curate it from the internet, the huge world of the internet. And this is a moment to encourage you to remember that you don't have to make everything. You don't have to do it all yourself. I love to make it on Canva. I love to make the little bookmarks and the little squares. I make it on Canva, but I also love to go to my favorite websites, find the infographic or the chart or the little picture that's already made, download it, and put that in the bag. It's a big part of our job as information professionals is to know what's on the internet, especially related to our topic of choice, and to find it for our patrons because they might not find it themselves. These are just examples of some things that I've put in the bag. Like you can see one that I've made on Canva, a little mantra. You can see something that I've gotten from destressmonday.org. And then there are some tangible items too, which I'm going to go into on the next slide of why I think it's important to include just a little something that you've bought. So here's the recipe for the balanced bag. And I want to pause here just to say my rubric for the bag. As I said, it's an unassuming looking brown paper bag, like a snack bag. But when patrons open this bag, I want them to say, wow. I want them to have a wow moment, like, wow, I didn't know that. Or wow, I needed that. Or wow, that really helps me. Again, that provides a lot of meaning for the work so that when you're doing this, you know that you are making a difference. You're changing someone's life, maybe, even just by making their day better. So keep that in mind, is that you want to pack a punch with these little things. And I think the heart of that is your printable goodies. I call them goodies, but they're just like things that you print on cardstock, whether that be your mantra, your journal prompt, your breathing technique, or if you're doing a different theme that's not mindfulness, or even if you are doing mindfulness, maybe it's a joke, maybe it's a song, a piece of art, a poem, a little story. It can be all kinds of things. But that's the heart of it, is your printable goodies. I like to include one or two tangible items, and by that I mean something that you buy, because whether it be a piece of candy, a bag of tea, a pen, a sticker, whatever you're going to include, even if it's small and inexpensive, that kind of elevates it to the level of, wow, I'm getting something for free. And people love that. They love feeling like they're getting a gift. I like to include a library related item, whether that be a little bookmark size flyer for something coming up, or like we as a library, we write a blog, we produce a podcast. So I use QR codes to direct people to those offerings if they are related to mindfulness. It might be as simple as you're making a short book list or something like that. It's a way to show that there's more at the library. Like, oh, this is a really fun introduction. It's so nice that the library did this, but there's also more. And your feedback survey is really important. I do one with a QR code because that works for our patrons. If it doesn't, you can find a way to do a paper survey, but those surveys are invaluable because they prove your success, and they also, patrons give you great ideas for what you want to put in the bag. This is just how I stay organized, and I wanted to share this with you all just to show you how easy it can be. I use a Google Doc to show what I'm putting in the bags each week. I use a Google Drive folder to share with people within my system and people outside of my system as well. So again, if you're interested in this, you want to start it up, I can give you access to this Google Drive folder. And then it's as simple for you as clicking, printing, cutting, and putting it in the bag. You're going to miss that mental health piece of like, you know, part of me, the mental health of it is like, as I'm typing up my breathing technique, I'm breathing. You know, as I'm typing out my mantra, I'm saying it to myself. And that's a bonus of this program, but in a way, it's also the whole point, is like you're taking care of yourself at work. And that's so important. So please remember that. In the same vein, this is my feedback form that I use for my patrons and in my bags. I just wanted to share this again because maybe you're going to start this program too, and you can use the same questions I used. You can take a picture of this link. You can use the QR code. This is for you. And this is some of the feedback that I've gotten from my patrons. And again, I just wanted to include it so you can see the impact that it makes. This is all about, it's such a twofold conversation of, it really means a lot to people because this is something that helps them to grow and learn and connect as they open up this bag and they go through the items. It actually makes a large difference for them. And then I have 2 more slides just of some tips and ideas and other ways to kind of make this work. I want to jump to the satellite locations idea first, which is a little farther down on this list, but it's a way to stretch this program a little bit. If you start doing it and putting out the bags at your branch and you want to go farther with it, you can use satellite locations. And how that looks is, it's the age-old question of how do I find the patrons who are not coming into my building? Maybe they're at the rec center, maybe they're at the senior center, maybe they're at the women's center, maybe they're at the pediatrician's office. And what you can do is you can make up a bunch of these bags and drive them over to those places. And you might think, well, what's the point of doing that? I'm just spending time and a little bit of money and a little bit of effort to make these bags. But the beauty of that is that you're going to have those patron outcomes that I just showed you on that feedback slide, and you're going to still serve your community. Your community is within your library, but your community is also outside of your library. And so to me, it really makes me feel good to know that I'm spreading the love. You can also, you can tag these bags with your library. Like I always, if I'm doing a satellite location, I tag my bags. It's as simple as putting your library logo, printing it on computer paper, cutting it and stapling it to your bag. And there you go. Now they know it's from the library. They know who to give credit to. And it gives them a warm, fuzzy feeling about the library. So maybe they take another step. Co-creating with patrons. This is another exciting way to just kind of deepen this practice, which is I realized after a few months that everything going into the bags was me. It was either me creating it or me selecting it from the internet. It was my voice, my perspective, and that's fine. But what I realized is my community, and I'm sure yours too, it's so rich with people who are experts in this kind of stuff. You know, there's local artists and writers, self-help coaches, entrepreneurs. And so reaching out to them and asking, do you want to contribute something small, like this big, for the bag? And it's a win-win-win. It's a win for you because it's one less thing that you have to make and put in your bag. It's a win for them because they get some exposure. They can put their website or their social media handle on their little handout. And it's a win for your patrons because they're getting a more diverse experience. They're taking this topic, whatever you might choose, mindfulness or not, and they get to experience it from another person's point of view. And then just some more tips about creating awareness for your bags. I find that when I put out more bags get taken. People don't want to take the very last bag. And then display areas. You might think you know where to put the bags. I thought I'm going to put the bags right next to the new books because that's where all the action is. People are over at the new books. It turns out that actually wasn't the best place to put the bags. When I moved them over by the hold shelf, they get taken a lot more. I don't know why. I don't really ever see the bags get taken, but just another reminder and an invitation to be gentle with yourself, to allow yourself to tweak and change things and give yourself a little time to get it going. And then this is just about sustainability and making it work. I recently just took a full month break from creating the bags because I had been doing it for a year and I just needed a little break. You can do that. Switching it up is also great. I did mindfulness for like 9 or 10 months, and then I was a little burned out on mindfulness. So I tried doing explore the world bags, where every bag was about a different country. And that was a new challenge for me. I ended up not really liking that as much as mindfulness, but sometimes switching it up and doing new themes, or even just switching it up for 1 week, to correspond with a holiday or something going on or whatever. Like this is the cover that I used for our Juneteenth bag, because the first year I did the bags was really the first year that our library was celebrating and honoring and recognizing Juneteenth in a more meaningful way. So I wanted to make a bag, especially about Juneteenth. Switching it up is great. You don't have to pen yourself in. You don't have to say, I'm going to do mindfulness every week. Like I did mindful Mondays, but you can do mindful moments. And the great thing about mindful moments is that you can do it any day of the week. Another idea, if you think this is interesting, but you're not so sure about the bags and you want to do a more traditional program, you can use a DIY event to take what you need. And what I mean by that is you would set it up more like a traditional program. You would have a space, get your buffet of like fillings of what you're going to put in the bag, put the bags out, and let people just kind of walk through and make their own bag, decide what they need that day. So those are just some ways to kind of keep the energy going with it and make sure that you want to keep going and that it works. Because that to me also is another way I think that mental health is strengthened in work, is feeling like you're doing something and it's successful. That's why I love this program too, is that it's a mix of quick wins and like big picture thinking. You can start this small and people take the bags and then you have a quick win. Like maybe 10 people took bags and that's a great, awesome start. And you can think really big and like do all these satellite locations and have a bunch of co-creators and do a bunch of themes. And like you can make it super big, but you can also start with a quick win. And that is a huge boost to mental health, or it was for me. To put something out and to have people take it is huge. Because I don't know about your library systems, but especially when I first started this program, and even now to a certain extent, programming, we're still trying to figure it out again, like traditional programming. So it's nice to have this that I also work on, where I know it's getting taken. I know people are excited about this and they're interested in it. This is just a slide with some good websites, because the free bingo cards one is an underrated something that I think is awesome. I love to make the bingo cards. Again, it's going back to sharing that information really creatively. Like I've made empowerment bingo, I've made self-care bingo, because you can use this website to put in phrases instead of numbers. So it's just a fun way to like get people excited about that. And then a few other websites that just might be good, especially if you're doing mindfulness. And that's my last slide. I wanted to try to keep this short to 20 minutes so that we can have some few minutes for questions and to give you all a few minutes to get to your next session. So this is where my presentation ends. But again, please take note of my email, because I would love to connect with you, to share with you. Please give me feedback and ideas of how you're going to implement this yourself. Thank you. So I think ready to take any questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Abby. Okay, so by a wide margin, the most popular question we had in chat is how people can get access to the Google folder that you mentioned. Would you be willing to share a public link, or do you think it's best if they reach out to you via email?
Good question. I have no experience of making a Google folder public. Like, spoiler alert, I'm kind of a baby. I'm like a new career librarian. So I mean, whatever, I've been working in libraries, but pandemic. So yeah, I will investigate that. I would say if you're interested in it, please write down my email, because when I did this presentation at my state library conference, I did not know about that whole public Google Drive thing. I just had people email me. So email me, because I don't really know about the whole public Google Drive thing. I guess, sorry, that's a bad answer, but that's the best I have for now. I'll look into it, but do take down my email.
That's a great answer, I think. So the next question is how many, sorry, I lost track. How many bags do you make each week?
Yeah, so I found the sweet spot for me is that I make 20 bags a week. And for my particular branch, and I serve a downtown branch. We don't have a parking lot. It's, I guess, urban, suburban, most kind of an urban location. But I make 20 bags a week. I could probably make more. I could probably make like 30 or 40 and they would get taken. But again, it's the piece of like, what do you want to keep up with? I like making 20 a week, and they don't always all get taken either, is the other thing. Sometimes I make 20 and they don't get taken. And I've experimented with different things. At one point, when I first started, I called it Mindful Mondays. I put out the bags on Monday or Sunday night. And then any that were not taken on Tuesday morning, I took away, because I thought that will kind of add to the novelty factor of like, they're only available on Monday. If you see something sitting on the shelf for a long time, it kind of gets stale. But then I didn't like having the extras. Like, I would have 3 or 4 bags that didn't get taken, and I didn't know what to really do with all that stuff, because it's not enough to make a whole nother set of bags. And I don't just want to put it in next week's bag because I want it to be different. Anyway, you catch my drift. So I make about 20 a week, and I have a little bit of help I have like a volunteer who kind of comes sometimes and helps me with cutting.
Awesome. Our next question is, where is your library located?
Yeah, so I work for the Jefferson-Madison Regional Library system, and my particular branch is the Central Branch. We're located in Charlottesville, Virginia, but we serve the city of Charlottesville and surrounding counties of Albemarle, Greene, Louisa, and Nelson in Virginia. So I'm on the East Coast.
And where does funding for this come from?
Great. So funding for this comes from just our general programming budget, and for that, it comes from our friends of the library, so supports our programming. And because this is so inexpensive, it's like a very small, like, I don't even think it's really a line item, because it's mostly office supplies. You know, I'm just like getting cardstock, and I'm getting those brown paper bags, which I've had to order, I think like 2 times I've ordered the bags, and the cardstock I order a little more frequently, and then the extras, like the little tangible items. Again, I do really cheap, inexpensive things. So it comes out to be not a lot.
Yeah. We did get a request to go back 1 slide so people could copy down the websites you recommended.
Yeah.
And someone is asking, how did you get admin buy-in to start the program?
Yeah, good question. Well, I have an amazing supervisor, an amazing manager, and she's just super supportive of us trying new things. And especially if it's something that we're excited about. Again, like I said, you want it to be something that you don't have to be an expert in it, but like, it's just a topic that I'm interested in. But for her, and the way that we've been able to continue to sell it and continue to do it, is that we feel that it is it's something that how do I say this? It's like it brightens up the space, or it makes the library welcoming and inviting. So people come in and it's like a joy to see these little gift bags. They're cute. They're kind of fun looking. And so that's the tricky part, like if you're in, I'm a worker bee, like I'm not an upper admin person, so I don't do bibliostats and I don't have to worry about all that, like what counts and what doesn't and how does it count. But if you have to kind of figure that out, there are ways to make it count for this or that. But I'm lucky enough that I'm able to just do it. And the way that we've talked about it is kind of like building patron morale in a way, like making it a nice space, and people they start getting acclimated to it, and then they start looking forward to it. And you can also point to the way that you will continue to point to other library things like library materials and library programs, and library resources too within the bag.
Did you have to like allocate a certain amount of funds to get started with this, or and do you have to, how do you sustain the supplies and the cost of the various things?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to my little supplies thing. So I didn't, because you can get, and this Amazon price might not be 100% accurate, but like you can get 500 bags for $29 and then 250 pages for $14. So that's like $40 right there. 500 bags is 500 bags. 250 pages is about 250 bags. Because for me, how I do it is I'm able to put if you remember what goes in my bag, I put about 4 pieces of paper in each bag. And they're small enough because they're fitting inside this little bag that I can fit about 4 things on a piece of paper. So if you want to make 500 bags, it ends up being, I guess, maybe more like $60. And it's just like 500 bags is going to last you a long time, because if you're doing 20 bags a week, even like 100 bags a month, which is kind of a lot. That's still 5 months worth, and that's $60. So you wouldn't even have to put in like the piece of candy. But if you're putting in 1 piece of candy, it's like not a lot too. So $60 for 5 months, it's like what, $10 a month or something. So you can make it very low cost.
If you have any leftovers, do you give to artists? Jane, I'm not sure if you want to clarify what you mean by leftovers, but maybe just extra.
Yeah, you probably mean like extra in the week. Well, what I've started doing when I first did it and I had it just on Mondays and then I would take them away, I've actually gone away from that, because I've realized if I put them out, for one thing, I've rebranded it to be Mindful Moments instead of Mindful Mondays, because then I can put them out on a Wednesday and you have a mindful moment any day of the week. And then I just leave them out until they're gone. And it's 20 bags. So like it might take a couple days, but they just stay there until they're gone. So at this point, I don't have leftovers, which is nice, because when I had leftovers, I didn't really know what to do with that stuff. I would collect it in a plastic folder, and then I would just save it for the next time I would use that material. Because if I have like a breathing technique and I used it today, I would like use it again, maybe in 4 or 5 months, when the person hasn't seen it in a while, I could put it back in the bag. So I save all my little scraps of paper. There's still some that I have left over from this or that. Or you can do that DIY event where you just end up with a large mishmash of stuff and you put it out and you tell people to just take it or make their own bag.
Okay, I think we're nearing down to the end of the time, but we'll see how many we can do. Do you notice that some items are more popular than others? For example, tea bags versus candies, mantras / affirmations versus breathing exercises?
Yeah, good question. That's also where the feedback survey really comes in handy, because one of my questions that I ask is, what was your favorite element? And it can be surprising. One thing that I picked up that I put into the bags are those little glass, like rainbow stones that you can get at Michael's. They're like filler stones or like river rocks, but they're colors. You guys maybe know what I'm talking about. And people love those. Like I just drop one of those in the bag and people think it's like their lucky charm. They really enjoy it. It's a totally random, like tiny little circle rock, but people like those. The tattoos that I have in the bags, that was actually a patron suggestion. So like temporary tattoos I started putting in, people like those. They love the stickers. That's good. And I do coloring bookmarks, which are popular. Again, I would email me, please email me. I'm going to go back to the end just so we can end on my email, because I can let you know what all the most popular things are at my library, at least.
And that is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much, Abby. Thank you all for attending, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you. Thanks so much.